Around 105 CE, in the Han Dynasty court of China, an official named Kai Lun was tasked with solving a simple problem. Silk was too expensive to write on. Bamboo strips were heavy and bulky. The empire needed something cheap, light, and easy to produce in large quantities. His solution came from an unlikely mixture: mulberry bark, hemp waste, old rags, and fishing nets, mashed into a pulp, spread thin across a screen, and left to dry in the sun. What emerged was the first true paper the world had ever seen. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't precious like gold or silk. But this thin, humble sheet would go on to carry more human knowledge, more money, and more power than almost any other invention in history. For centuries, China guarded papermaking as a closely held secret, much like silk production. Paper quickly became essential to running an empire, recording tax records, imperial decrees, and eventually, the world's first printed books. The secret didn't stay contained forever. Along the Silk Road, papermaking knowledge slowly traveled westward, reaching Korea, Japan, and eventually the Islamic world by the 8th century. In Baghdad, paper mills flourished, and paper became central to one of history's greatest intellectual flourishings. Libraries, translation centers, and scholarly works were all built on this thin, unassuming material. Paper had gone from a court secret to the foundation of entire civilizations' knowledge systems. Paper reached Europe far later than most people realize, not until the 12th century, arriving through Islamic Spain and Sicily. European monarchs and merchants were initially skeptical, still favoring parchment made from animal skin, which was durable but slow and expensive to produce. But paper's true explosion came in the 15th century, when Johannes Gutenberg combined it with a new invention: the movable type printing press. Suddenly, books that once took monks months to hand copy could be printed by the hundreds in weeks. Paper wasn't just carrying information anymore, it was mass-producing it, and with it, spreading literacy, ideas, and eventually revolutions across an entire continent. For centuries, paper was still made one laborious sheet at a time, largely from cotton and linen rags, a slow, limited supply that couldn't keep up with growing demand. The breakthrough came in the 19th century, when papermakers discovered how to pulp wood fiber instead of rags. This single shift meant paper could finally be produced at massive industrial scale, using a resource that seemed nearly endless: trees. Newspapers exploded in circulation. Novels became affordable for ordinary people, not just the wealthy. Paper currency, which had existed in limited forms for centuries, could now be mass-produced reliably enough to become the standard form of money across entire nations. By the 20th century, paper had woven itself into nearly every part of daily life: school notebooks, packaging, currency, official documents, even disposable items like tissues and cups. What was once a rare, precious material had become so common it was barely noticed at all. This abundance came with a hidden cost. Mass paper production meant mass deforestation, and by the late 20th century, growing environmental awareness pushed the industry toward recycling and sustainable forestry practices. An ongoing tension between convenience and consequence that still shapes the industry today. Today, paper faces its strangest challenge yet: not scarcity, but replacement. Digital screens now carry much of what paper once held alone: books, letters, even money itself, increasingly moving into digital and mobile forms. And yet paper hasn't disappeared. It remains in packaging, official documents, art, and countless daily rituals that digital screens still haven't fully replicated. The feel of a real page, a handwritten letter, a printed photograph. From a mashed pulp of mulberry bark and old fishing nets, to the pages of history's greatest books, to the money in your wallet, paper carried human knowledge and value further than almost anything else ever created. Even now, in a digital age, its story isn't finished. It's simply changing shape once again,